Hi, Miss Isabella. Can you talk? Good girl. Can you talk loud? Shake hands. Hello. Hi. Right, Izzy, sit. Lie down. Good girl. So today I'm going to show you how I feed Isabella. In fact, it's almost a year. She had major surgery and the doctors did not give her much hope. And so I switched and started making her food from scratch. So every day she gets real food. I've been using an Instapot the last few months and that makes it a lot easier. I cook it for 4 hours on a poultry setting and that seems to do the trick for a week's worth of food for Isabella. The only thing I add to the Instapot with the chicken is apple cider vinegar, and I put about 2 or so, maybe a little bit more than 2 tablespoons into the chicken. And I'll throw in a few carrots or perhaps zucchini if I've got some extra, and a teaspoon of turmeric as well as the salt. It's really important if you're using chicken to make sure that it is completely cooked so that the bones crumble. So if I just gently squeeze them and they break apart, look at all that marrow inside the bone, that is just perfect. The apple cider vinegar helps that to break down and gets the nutrients out of the bones and into the stock. This is really kind of like a bone broth because the bones have broken down significantly. I'll put 4 drumsticks into each dish. And sometimes they fall apart, so just want to try and make sure that you get all the pieces, because that's how I weighed it out and measured it initially. It did take a little while to figure that out. Sometimes I've just used a whole chicken and then it's not as easy to get the right amount, but it just depends on the best price and where I happen to buy my chicken. There we go, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And sometimes if some of the drumsticks are really big, I'll try and make sure to spread the big ones around so there's a big one for each dish, and then do smaller ones alongside that. A piece of carrot for each one. I'll usually give Isabella a whole carrot as well, a fresh carrot, if she's still hungry. So once we started feeding her real food, we very quickly noticed, first of all, that she started losing weight. She was about 30 pounds overweight, and within a few months she lost 30 pounds. And has maintained a really healthy weight since then. Her nails started growing a little faster, and her hair or fur really started to look gorgeous. Before that, she really had kind of dull, dry looking hair. But her hair really has grown beautifully since we made the changes. And the main thing is that she's still with us, because the way the vet was speaking after she'd had this major surgery was that there was not much hope. In the middle of the surgery, the vet actually called us and suggested that she be transferred to a specialist hospital, and they call in a specialist to take over and continue the surgery. And there would have been another 20 or 25,000. We just needed to be ready to go with the flow. And we pretty much decided at that point that we had reached the limit of the flow. And this has done an amazing job in helping her to be the healthiest that she's been in 5 years. She started out as a really healthy puppy, and then within months, developed all kinds of allergies. She's had multiple food allergies where we've had to change her food. She started off with lamb, couldn't eat that anymore. Then she had to have salmon, we tried that. Then she had beef, that lasted about a year. And then she started having just constant scratching and allergy reactions. And once we changed the food, that settled down again. Anyway, so now we're probably close to the end because we've done turkey, we've done venison, and now we're doing chicken, and so far the chicken is working. So we're just thrilled that that has worked really well. Next we'll do a spoon of pumpkin. This is just pureed pumpkin. Sometimes I'll do zucchini, or I'll buy a whole pumpkin and cook that if it's the good time of year. Pumpkin is really great for parasites and making sure that the gut is healthy. So I do some pumpkin that's pureed, and then I also do the ground pumpkin seeds. And then this is the ground pumpkin seed. I just do a whole jar of that and keep it in the fridge. So once a month or so I'll do that, and I also sprinkle that in my yogurt and on a salad or an oatmeal. I discovered with the pumpkin seeds is if I grind them, she actually gets the nutrients from them. If I just give them to her whole, they often pass right through her, and that defeats the purpose because she wolfs down her food so quickly that she's not going to chew pumpkin seeds. So she gets 2 big spoons of coconut oil, and sometimes I'll add olive oil, or I'll alternate and just do an extra virgin olive oil. One of my final reasons for deciding to make my own dog food is because I couldn't find any dog food that is not made with seed oils. And you may not be familiar with the seed oil saga in America, but somehow industrial oils have been accepted as food in America. So these seed oils are banned in most other countries around the world, and that would be your canola oil, sunflower oil, soy oil, corn oil, vegetable oil, safflower oil, rapeseed oil. And it has to do with how this oil is processed. Now, if you think about it, if you took a corn kernel and squeezed it, you're never going to get any oil out of it. The way that these are manufactured is actually quite atrocious. And so I've decided to stop eating seed oils, and that's when my dog got sick, and I realized, well, if I'm going to do that for the family, I don't want any corn oil or canola oil in my house anymore. So I thought I'll just buy some dog food that's healthy, and of course couldn't find any. And so we are here today making dog food. But she absolutely loves it. It's really tasty. I mean, I literally can just eat with her. I could have a meal with her because it's so good. I probably wouldn't eat the bones, but they are broken down quite nicely. You can hear the nice crunch as each bone breaks. And I just go through to make sure that none of the bones have, not cooked through, because a chicken bone can be a problem for a dog. But when I check it here, I can see that each bone is broken down completely and doesn't take much pressure at all, and it falls apart. So that's what we're looking for. So all I do now is allow it to cool just a little bit, and then I'll put the lids on and put half of them in the freezer, and the other 3 or so go into the refrigerator for the next few days. And every day Isabella gets 1 dish of food. And that was another change that I made. I stopped feeding her twice a day, and she also doesn't get snacks. because a dog's digestive system is actually made to only eat once a day. And I think that was partly how she lost the weight as well, because once she started eating once a day, she was able to just digest her food better and get into a healthier state. And the way I was able to do that was to swap from doing 2 meals a day. The first morning I just gave her half of her breakfast and then added the other half to her dinner. I did that for 3 days, and then on the 4th day I cut her breakfast in half again, so she was getting a quarter of the original amount. So she just had a few bites and looked at me with absolute horror because she was just kind of whetting her appetite. And then I gave the rest to her at dinner time, and I did that for two more days. And then on the 3rd day, which would have been 6 days total, I was able to just give her her dinner at night. And in the morning I actually gave her a spoon of coconut oil just to lick, just to have something. And I don't think that she ever actually asked for anything in the morning again after that. A few times it was more the routine. She'd kind of go to the kitchen and look around, but she didn't act hungry. And I think part of it is because she's getting real food. She gets no more dry kibble. She is so healthy. Her teeth actually started getting clean on their own. I don't brush them at all, and they turned white, and all the plaque and tartar disappeared, and she's just a much healthier, calmer dog. It's a little bit more work, that's for sure. I can't say it's not, but once you figure out a bit of a system, it's actually not too difficult. And I'll often try and do a couple extras so that I have them in the deep freeze, so I'm never kind of in a crisis and run out of food. But if I do, if we're having chicken, I'll just break up a couple pieces for her and add some pumpkin or zucchini. It's very easy to add a couple spoons of coconut oil and make a quick meal for her. And she's the healthiest and happiest she's been in 5 years. Once these have cooled down to room temperature, I'll pop them into the deep freeze. So I'll put 4 in the freezer, 3 in the refrigerator, and every day I just take out 1, and that allows it enough time to thaw before the 3rd day. So it just thaws in the refrigerator. I never have to worry about a frozen meal and forgetting to pull one out. And even when I've had someone look after Isabella, it's a pretty easy system just to have 3 in the fridge at all times. 1 is usually partially frozen, and that works really well. And there we have it, 7 days. So that's a week's worth. I'll usually make it a little bit ahead, so I'll have an extra couple in the freezer at all times in case I'm running behind a couple days. Hi, Miss Isabella. Can you talk? Good girl. Can you talk loud? Shake hands. Hello.